welcome into another Steelers Afternoon Drive. I'm Zachary Smith, and that is not Alan Saunders. Alan covering Steelers rookie camp today. Exciting that that's even underway, and that's a sentence that I can say. So joining me, of course, it's Friday. Steelers DB, Derrick Bell joining the show. How we doing, pal?
Doing really well, man. Normally not like too jazzed up about rookie minicamp just because it's kind of like, I don't know, it's just almost like a tease from real football, right? No pads, anything like that. But when I woke up today and I found out that my good brother, Thomas Perry from Middlebury College, got a camp invite to the Steelers minicamp, I was just elated. I mean, it just made my entire day, made my weekend. I'm just so excited. So, and I'm really excited to be on the pod. So,
wait, hold on. Time out. Is this like a real thing?
Or this is a real thing.
Okay.
No, this is a real thing. I tweeted out. He was one of my I don't think I might have wrote about it at some point for the site about like late sleepers. I thought that Perry had a chance to be drafted, but yeah, he's from Middlebury College. He is a D3 player. I did not know that this man existed until the Shrine Bowl. And then I was watching Shrine Bowl practices, didn't recognize, this dude in this helmet. Was like, who is this guy? I think he's pretty good. Went to look him up. And he's training with Duke Manyweather. He's been somebody that's kind of like on my radar. Tweeted after the draft ended, like, hey, let's get this dude in as an undrafted free agent. Ended up getting a rookie minicamp invite. So we'll see if he sticks around long enough to make it to Latrobe and possibly longer. But yeah, just kind of a cool little nugget. I was happy to see that.
There we go. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, just for me, it just means, this is the start of getting the clips, that we're going to see first look at Will Howard, Kaleb Johnson, hearing how much of a freak Derek Harmon is. That is why I look forward to
the morale, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's like the first step in football being back. It's not football, but we're starting to see some stuff come out there. And that's why I appreciate when we get into this portion. But anyways, with that being said, you and I have not talked a whole lot about the George Pickens trade, and just based off the questions, because I put out for questions as I typically do, especially on Fridays, I can tell a lot of people are going to want to talk about receiver. I think that's a lot of the questions that we're going to be answering. And as I'm sitting here thinking like, my God, this is the exact same thing that we were doing last year. This has been 14 months of the same conversation going on, basically, where there was a brief delay, not during the season, but we had a couple months period from March till this week after acquiring DK Metcalf, where it looked like, oh, okay, maybe we are going to go into the season with a couple receivers. Oh, a surprise appearance. A wild Alan Saunders appears.
That was a smooth intro as well.
What's up, fellas?
What's going on? We were just talking about you glowingly.
I'm sure.
No, I was just mentioning I put out for questions as I typically do, on a Friday, and noticing that all the conversation that people want to have is about receiver, and I just feel like this is 14 months ago, basically the exact same thing after the Deontay Johnson trade.
I think it's worse because I think people have Deontay Johnson PTSD now.
Yeah.
They're now
and maybe that's it, because
last year is going to happen again.
They have every opportunity still to add to this wide receiver room. And I guess that's kind of where I'll go right now, because that's what a lot of questions are saying. So we can kind of just lump them in together. Derrick, is there a name out there that jumps out to you, whether it be in free agency or you think is definitely available via trade? Because the reason I say definitely available is because you could just throw a name out there. Yeah, they should trade for Justin Jefferson. But that is, you feel like is on the trade market a viable option?
Yeah, I mean, I wrote about this for the site, but I think it's easy to kind of connect the dots between the Steelers and maybe the Packers. The Packers drafted 2 wide receivers, took Matthew Golden. First time they've taken a wide receiver in the first round in a very long time. And then they double back, took Savion Williams at the end of day 2. They just have a loaded depth chart. I'm not sure of what the, necessarily timeline could be, just because Christian Watson's coming back from a serious injury. But if they want to try to get some type of value back for one of their guys that they may not be able to find playing time for, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think the 2 guys that are most likely available, Romeo Doubs entering the last year of his rookie contract, that kind of makes some sense. Doubs has been kind of their X receiver. He shares some of what they had in George Pickens. If they thought that Pickens and Metcalf could work, I think that they would probably feel the same about Doubs and Metcalf. Dobbs is a really good contested catch player. I've actually been really impressed, just watching his tape over the past week. He just improved as a route runner since the Nevada days. So he's a guy who maybe they could see as someone that could produce more without as much competition in the room, give them another outside receiver threat. And then the other guy I would mention is Dontavian Wicks, who was a 5th-round pick a couple years ago, had a down season last year. He struggles to catch the football, but everything else looks pretty good before that. Like the dude knows how to get open. If you're looking for kind of like a route runner type that can create separation, get some quick wins, I think that would both these guys, Rodgers, who we assume is still coming to Pittsburgh, has worked with Dobbs. He spoke glowingly about him. And then Wicks kind of has the in-out wiggle and the quick in and out stuff that Rodgers typically likes underneath. So, I mean, I think both those guys are worth a shot calling about, just seeing if they're available.
Before I ask Alan something kind of in the same vein, is there somebody, because you mentioned went immediately the Packers thing, I think that's fair. Is there still a name on the free agent market at all that you think makes sense?
I'll let Alan go first. I think I looked at the free agent market when I was streaming the other day, and I kind of came away with like, no thanks. But I'll look real quick.
Yeah, Alan?
I mean, I would have like some interest in DJ Chark. He's still out there, right?
He is.
Like, I think that's a scheme fit. He's not that great of a player, but it's a scheme fit. I think there will be more options as the offseason goes on. I think you're going to see. Like, this was a wide receiver class where there were not a lot of, like, slam dunk players. But I think there were a lot of players that teams liked and kind of took chances on in, like, day 2 and day 3. That if by the end of August, those players look like, oh, they hit on that draft pick.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be some guys available. But I think there's going to be some hesitancy from those teams to just unload people in May. Like, I think the Steelers might have to wait a little bit here.
again, going back to this is the same conversation we were having last year. We said the same thing last year, and look how it played. So I can only imagine if we're waiting a couple months here to see how this wide receiver room is going to play out. Every Friday is going to look like this exact thing, question-wise.
I would say after browsing the free agent market again, I am out on anybody on the current market. So, sorry. I was hoping I could maybe find some type of name that was going to kind of be a little bit interesting to me to add to the conversation, but it's pretty bleak out there. I mean, like the top 2 guys in terms of like from last year, Keenan Allen, Rob, I mean, definitely a slot receiver, a bigger body, somebody that you could maybe trust to be a reliable target underneath, but like, I mean, we're talking about a guy that probably runs like a 4.9 40-yard dash at this point. I mean, he really struggles to get separation at this point in his career. He's 33 years old. Amari Cooper, he's 31. He played like half the snaps last year. Didn't look great in Cleveland. I kind of thought that he would just take a uptick, just get to play with Josh Allen and that Bills offense, who kind of needed a separator like him. The film's just not that good either. So, yeah, I mean, those are the 2 big names I think people would probably be interested in just off of like recognition, but
name value. Yeah,
I don't think that they're that great of players anymore.
And if we needed a slot, I think that would make a lot more sense. But like, they've got enough slot receivers on the roster to like, to feed an entire nation. We're talking about the idea of them adding a receiver, and I want to start with you for this one, Alan, just because this was something that Omar Khan said today. The comments about him, obviously, I don't think that he's going to just come out and say, yeah, our wide receiver room stinks. But he obviously displayed some conviction, if you will, within that group, and said that they're at least comfortable within it. Josh said, kind of feels like Groundhog's Day going back to last season, but do you think that this year will be different? Would you take him at his word, face value, should I say, or do you think that they are going to add to this room?
No, you shouldn't take him at face value to say. He spent on last offseason saying he was comfortable in the wide receiver room while he was doing everything he could to trade for Brandon Ayuk. And this offseason, he's saying he likes the wide receiver room while I'm sure he's going to be doing everything he can to add to that room. So, no, don't take that. The last thing he said today was, we're trying to win a championship, and there's a long way to go to opening day. I would believe that. That's the mindset that I think is accurately reflecting what the people who go to work every day on the South Side are thinking right now. that they're trying to win. They didn't see George Pickens as a fit in a winning culture, and they're going to go try to find a wide receiver who is.
Derek, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I mean, Alan's right. I have tried to stress this really over the past, I feel like 12, 14 months or whatever, but like any time that Tomlin or Khan get in front of the media and talk to them, I just I don't listen to what they say. I listen to what they do. And, you know, their actions told us last summer that they weren't all the way in on their receiver room. And we saw how that played out during the season. Like, they struggled to throw the football. They were really one-dimensional. They relied on George pretty much exclusively. They got some positive contributions from Calvin Austin. I thought took a step forward, but not having a legit wide receiver too and having to play Van Jefferson all those snaps, like, it was the debacle, and like they deserve criticism for that. I would just say, like, in general, I know there's like some other questions. Don't want to like skip ahead, but there's some other questions in here about like what the Steelers. I saw one about what moves can be made to restore the confidence in the Steelers fan base. I think it just kind of depends on like your viewpoint of the Steelers. I think trading for a wide receiver and showing that they're like active in that pursuit and trying to win a championship would probably be enough for most people. But I guess my thought process is with that is like, why should we consider the Steelers organization anything more than like an above average collection of individuals right now, just based on what they've showed us in recent seasons? Like, they haven't won a playoff game since 2016. Like, they haven't had a top 12 offense, like better than a 12th ranked offense since 2018. I mean, this is like the same story we talk about every offseason. They need to get better on offense. They talk about like wanting to win a championship, stepping into the modern era. There's a lot of factors in that. They don't have a quarterback. They haven't been able to get one. But like, until we see some like drastic type of improvement, I don't know why we should look at them any differently than we did this time last year.
I don't think we should, but I don't think people are looking at them the same as they did this time last year either. And I think that's a mistake. Like, I think right now, if you took the temperature of the Steelers fan base and compared it to this time a year ago, people are significantly more down on the Steelers right now than they were this time a year ago, and they shouldn't be. They're right where they've been again. Like, now, I can understand frustration with right where they've been again. But anyone thinking like this team has gotten like significantly worse is just missing the plot. Like, no, they didn't. Like, they are again going to be an 8-11 win team. Almost certainly. They are again going to be one and done in the playoffs, probably. But like, yeah, I get being frustrated with that, but that doesn't mean it's worse. It is just the same.
Do you think that's what it is, though? Is because it's another year of being the same, that's why the morale continues to drop?
No, I mean, I think right now a lot of people are significantly overrating the contributions of George Pickens and like what that means to the team. Like, oh my God, they don't have George Pickens, they're going to be bad now. No, they're not. Like, no, they're not. Like, he's a good player, but just no, they're not. They don't throw that much anyway. Like, they just right. George Pickens had 900 yards. Like, that's not even like Pro Bowl alternate caliber wide receiver play. That is not moving the needle in terms of your playoff chances or your win total or anything like that. It's just like a below average wide receiver one. Like, I think their wide receiver room right now is better than it was through most of the season last year, assuming Roman Wilson stays healthy.
Yeah. And, well, actually, that's a good segue because Roman Wilson, part of this other question I wanted to bring up, and there's obviously some projection that has to take place within this question. But Steven said, what do we make of the future outlook for CA3 after the season? Feels like Omar is hell-bent on overhauling the roster, and it allows a guy like Roman Wilson to take his place should he take a step forward.
I think there's plenty of room for those two guys to coexist. I don't really think it's an either-or situation.
Derek?
I don't know what to say about that other than we just have to see how it plays out. I mean, we haven't seen Roman in a Steelers uniform except for 4 snaps.
Yeah, it's kind of 5. Hey,
yeah.
whoa.
I mean, I don't know.
He used to wait 20% of his snaps last year.
I mean, your opinion on Roman Wilson is literally the exact same, or should be the exact same, unless you have some type of inside knowledge about his character or what happened last year. that's not related to his injury, your opinion on Roman Wilson should be exactly the same as it was coming out of Michigan. So, like, for me, when Roman was coming out of Michigan, he was just a speed slot guy. Like, that's what he was. He was really good at stretching the field vertically. He runs a ton of crossers, really limited route tree, tough as nails. He's going to compete. He's going to block. I don't know if he's going to be able to block well because of his size at this level. He's only 180 pounds, but he's going to show a lot of effort in that regard. And I think that will be something that's warranted. So how he fits into the offense, I think, like, ideally his usage looks a lot like Calvin's did last year. Now, can Calvin be more than he showed last year and continue to take another step? I think that's entirely possible. I struggle to see a world in which they're both on the same field at the same time, unless it's like third down, late 3rd and 10 situation where you're going to throw the ball, just because I don't know that there's enough variety in their skill sets to make that work. Like, getting them on the field on early downs and trying to run like play action with them is going to be a little bit difficult until like one of them proves that they can actually come in, dig out a linebacker, dig out a safety in tight condensed splits. I just don't know if that's actually going to work. But yeah, I do think their skill sets are like a little bit repetitive. Will Roman take I'm operating under the assumption that Roman's going to have to take that job away from Calvin. Like, I think that's how things are going to stand entering training camp. He's going to be behind him on the depth chart. We'll see if he could do it. I think that would be great for the Steelers because they spent a 3rd-round pick on him. But we'll just have to see. I mean, until he gets on the field, I don't know how we can gauge it on anything else other than what he showed us at Michigan.
Right, which is why I said there's a lot of projection that goes into that. You mentioned, can Calvin be more, and maybe this is what you mean, but like, obviously if one of those guys could play outside, reps on the boundary, that would obviously be the way to get them on the field together at the same time. I don't know. I like you said, there's a lot of projection that goes into that. It's hard for me to give an answer on this until we see Roman Wilson do, anything at the NFL level. So, but I understand the question certainly and where it's coming from. We'll see what the long-term future holds for Calvin, who I don't think enough people, like a lot of people are talking about, obviously George being in the 22 class, needing a contract. I'm not saying Calvin's going to break the bank or anything like that, but if they want to keep him around, they'll have to give him a new contract as well. Speaking of snaps, and you said he's going to have to take them away from Calvin. Let's switch gears off the wide receiver conversation just for a second here. Chop, our guy, said, what will the split between Kaleb Johnson and Jaylen Warren be, do you think?
I've got a good answer for this, so I'll go first. I think they will split 1st and 2nd down carries pretty evenly over the course of the season. But I don't think Johnson will play very much on 3rd down. So, and he'll probably start more like 70-30 Warren. But by the end, it might be like 60-40 Johnson. Dude was impressive today, man. I was going to get there. Been in a room with him. Hadn't necessarily seen him like up close and personal without his pads on. Kaleb Johnson is a freak. Dude is jacked. Like, I don't know what his body fat percentage is, but it can't be much.
I think he just says no.
Like none. Say he ran like 3 to 4 miles on the treadmill the night before practice. Like, that's a sicko. I think the Steelers got a real good one there, but I think they'll probably try to work him in slowly. So I think splitting carries on 1st and 2nd down feels about right.
DB, I know this is your guy, so.
Oh, we're Kaleb Johnson to the moon. I'm anxiously waiting. I haven't placed a single wager on anything sports related in like 9 months, but I'm not gonna lie to you. I have checked FanDuel almost every day for them to give me some Kaleb Johnson rookie rushing props because I'm smashing the over. So yeah, I mean, I agree with Alan. I think a 50-50 early down split is like, I would say, cautiously optimistic. I think by the middle of the season, I think he's going to be the leader in the clubhouse in terms of like early down snaps. The big part of like, his overall impact is just going to be like, how quickly can he catch on to like the receiving game aspect of it. Didn't get a lot of targets in the Iowa offense because they didn't have anyone to throw the football. I do think that his hands are softer than people are giving him credit for. I'm very interested to see like what that looks like when I get to Latrobe. That is like the number one thing on my radar. I would say the second thing on my radar with that is just how he does in backs on backers. Like,
we were telling him about backs on backers today. He didn't know nothing about it yet. We were giving him the
he's gonna know
rundown.
He's gonna
looking
know.
forward to it now. He didn't know, but he knows now.
Oh.
He's already looking forward to it.
So like one of the things too is like Kaleb, last year he had 33 snaps where he stayed in the block. I mean, there's just like it's just one of those things where it's such a small sample size. I want to see like what his temperament's like, because like when I was watching him on film, I do think like above the neck in terms of picking up stuff, I thought he was pretty solid in terms of like picking up blitzes and like understanding stunts and things like that. I wanted to see a little bit more temperament from him with that regard, because you mentioned it, Alan, like his physique, like there's not much body fat at all on the dude's physique. Like of the Steelers roster, like the guys that they drafted, he has like the best like NFL ready body of any of them. And I don't even think it's remotely close. So yeah, I mean, I'm very excited to see like what he looks like in that regard. If he comes out in training camp and like looks really good in backs on backers, catches the football cleanly, we get to see some of that in the preseason. My overall like rookie outlook will look even more positive. Not just, and that's not to like shade anything on like Jaylen Warren or anything like that. I think Warren is a really solid player. I just think he's a complimentary back. I don't think that the Steelers really want to give him 15, 18, 20 touches a game. I just don't think that they view him like that either. So I think both of them sharing the workload can create a really dynamic backfield. And to be honest with you, in light of the receiver conversations, they're going to need to be pretty dynamic, because they're going to be seeing a lot of 8-man boxes, and they're going to be relying on those two to really be the engine of the offense.
Yeah,
Alan,
it seems like I'm going to spend
their
entire season saying that they're best 5 eligible receivers and all 2 running backs.
I was going to say, we're going to talk about it again. We're going to do it again an entire offseason. No, but I'm very excited to see Kaleb Johnson and just how that transition goes, how quickly gets up to speed and everything like that. Still going away from the wide receiver conversation. LBJ DM me this one. Have a question for you guys. Also was adamant that he wanted DB to be on the show when he asked me this. So wasn't necessarily knew it was going to be a day, but I have a question for you, Alan, and then hopefully DB. We've been talking about adding a slot corner all off season. What about the trajectory of Beanie Bishop? Do we think it's just possible that he just gets better? What are the things that he needs to improve on in your mind? No, he got benched for Cam Sutton down the stretch, but let's not forget that he was a rookie.
I think Beanie is interesting because he's just physical. Like I don't think there's anything that Beanie can really do. Like he's just too small, and like there's going to be stuff that he can't do because he's too small. He's not going to be able to dominate that role, but I think he can take a big hunk of it, because outside of teams with big slots, like I like Beanie Bishop better than I like anybody on the roster in terms of just covering in the slot. I love his ball skills. I think he's a good corner. So I don't think he needs to get a lot better. I just think when you're talking about a player that size, there's always going to be limitations to what you can realistically expect him to do.
DB?
I mean, I think there are a couple things that I would personally like to see, and that's really – it's unfortunate we didn't get to see him play down the stretch last year, and they made the decision to play Cam Sutton over him. That's like one of my biggest questions is like, what does the organization or the coaching staff, I guess more importantly, even think of Beanie Bishop? Because Cam Sutton played for like 20 snaps against Washington his very first game back, and you could just immediately tell he wasn't an NFL player anymore. So the fact that they were like not wanting to put him on the field gives me some pause that they don't have a lot of confidence in him in general. So I don't know. But then they didn't do anything in free agency. You could take that one of two ways. It's like they don't really prioritize that position. They didn't draft a slot corner until like, I guess, one of the last picks of the draft, and Dante Kent. So I don't know what they feel about him. I would just say like Beanie, the zone coverage awareness and urgency like needs to be better. But I think that probably is only going to get better if he's allowed to actually play. So like Alan said, I do think that there are some like limitations to his coverage ability just because of his size. And that's going like teams. That's one of the things about, and I'm actually like planning on writing about this weekend, but the cornerback position in general, it's very similar to offensive line, where like the NFL right now, the way it's trending, it is a weak link position. So if they figure out which of your corners can't play, that's where the best receiver is going to go. So like that's why it's important to have a slot corner. Can you trust him to be out there in third and passing situations when you have to go man coverage and like the opposing team may put Jamar Chase in there? They might put T. Higgins in there, something like that. I don't know. We just don't know. We haven't seen enough of it. So yeah, I'm cautious. I would like to see him play more. I wanted to see him play more last year. I just don't know like what their level of confidence is.
Yeah, I mean, not a massive investment, right? But like Brandon Echols was brought in as well. So I'm sure he'll be part of that conversation. And also like the safeties, right, that could play within that role too. Like they I think they need to be part of this conversation. Heck, a UDFA and Sebastian Castro, I think, could be part of this conversation too, which takes me kind of leads me back to where I wanted to go. Alan, I kind of just wanted to ask you just from today, if you had any like big takeaways, if you will, from the, I don't know how many big takeaways you could have from what takes place today, but anything that come out of today that you thought was interesting.
Spent most of the day watching the defensive linemen play patty cake. So, like, I didn't get a lot. This isn't even football in shorts. This is like football drills in shorts. Y.A. Black is a big, strong dude. I can tell you that. Derrick Harmon is big. It's interesting. I love seeing the guys without the pads on. I think you get like a lot better sense of the athlete when they're doing like football drills without pads, because like Derrick Harmon is explosive, and you can see that on the tape. He's also just a giant dude, and I'm not sure that like shows up on the tape so much. Just how big he is. He's a big guy, and so. You know, that stood out to me. Rock Taylor stood out to me today. He looks like
there we go.
He looks like and I don't want to take this the wrong way, but like he's a like grown ass man. Like he looks like Cordero Patterson. Like just like if they're walking by one another, you'd be like, oh, that's CP. Oh no, wait, never mind. That's the rookie. And it's like, oh,
okay.
Like this.
Well, I'm glad you threw that name in there because you said don't take this the wrong way or anything like that. You called him a grown ass man. I was ready to say, all right, you know what? That beginning part of the podcast didn't need to happen. We got our wide receiver too. It's Rock Taylor. But then you threw the Cordero Patterson thing in there, and now everybody can just come back down to earth and not have
it's
to.
Like no, but like he just does not look like a rookie. He looks like
I know,
a 10-year NFL vet. Like that's what he looks like. Like that is noticeable. Rookies. The biggest takeaway I have at rookie minicamp every year is that rookies are bad at football. Like, I have to say this every year, but like, and I got to throw somebody I like under the bus to make a point, but it's okay. So, like, Jacob Slade was on the practice squad last year, all year. And I feel pretty confident saying Jacob Slade is the worst player that was on the Steelers the entirety of all last season. Like, that's it. And you get Jacob Slade doing drills here against the Steelers' first-round draft pick, and you're like, these guys look like the same. It's like right now, Derrick Harmon is not better than Jacob Slade, and I know
Michigan State teammates, by the way.
That is going to change a lot, but like at the beginning, rookies are terrible. If you made a team of the best 50 rookies, and they played the Tennessee Titans from last year, they would lose by 50, maybe 70. Like they're like right now, like they're awful at football right now. They're going to grow a lot in the next 6 months, but right now they stink. Like they're just not good, and it's eye-opening every year when I've spent so much time grinding on college tape. I've been watching these guys like, I love this guy, I love this guy, I love this guy, and then I got to watch the guy that I've been saying how good he is against some dude that I know is like barely going to make the practice squad. I'm like, he doesn't look better than him right now. It's just, it's the way the process works.
Other than, watching guys do drills that pretty much aren't anything. So I guess, is this process, I don't know if like cooler is the right word, but more informative because you get to talk to guys more so than actually like watching them do drills and stuff or whatever they're actually doing.
I think thing one is just like physical eyeballs on the specimen working. Like I think that's like I got to see some of these guys at the Senior Bowl, but like relatively few. I've covered a couple of them in college, but relatively few. I personally put a lot of value on seeing things happen with my own eyes more than I like watching it on tape. So I take a lot away from that. And then I've gotten to talk to all these guys already at least once, at least the drafted guys. It's the first time I talked to Rock Taylor, super interesting guy. So yeah, I mean, I think that's part of it. But for me, it's mostly just about like what the person looks like in an NFL field with NFL players compared to like what I was seeing on tape in college.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, look forward to hearing more updates. I just think I was telling DB, like before you jumped in here, I just love the fact that I could even say that this was going on now, like some type of, I know it's not even like football and shorts. We're not even at that part yet, but the fact that anything is going on right now is just cool that we are at that phase. We got a buzzer beater here, by the way, in the Twitter questions. Omar Construction said, would you trade Calvin Austin straight up for Jacoby Myers right now? Cal, I love you, pal. Yes, I would trade him straight up for Jacoby Myers.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was it Spatek is the new Raiders GM. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that would get like an instant hang up.
He would be laughing like the Athletic put out every GM was when they were talking about trading for George Pickens.
Yeah. Let me throw what I think is slightly more reasonable out there. Would you do it for Kendrick Bourne? Because that's a player that I think is a better fit for what the Steelers really need in terms of an outside receiver, and probably closer in terms of absolute value.
What's even going on with Kendrick Bourne? Every time I open up TikTok, he's on TikTok Live selling clothes. Like, is he even
getting paid? That's what's going on with Kendrick Bourne. Why you got a
Bourne blessed? Bourne blessed. No, it's dope. I like some of the stuff that I've seen, but I'm just saying I didn't even know what was going on with him, like football wise. So, like going back to San Fran, I was always super intrigued by Kendrick Bourne. Obviously, the injuries have impacted him. I thought he was a really bad fit in New England with what they were trying to do. I don't know. I mean, if you could guarantee me that he was going to get back to like 3 years ago, maybe, but I don't know. He's definitely a better fit for what I think they need. They don't have on the roster. Like without Cal, you still have the hope of what Roman would bring that opens a spot for him too, but not a guaranteed thing there either. I don't know. I mean, obviously, the question was Jacoby Myers, and that's obvious. Like, we don't even need to have a conversation about that.
That's obvious. Yeah, I mean, I would also say this. Like, Myers is probably, I would assume, I mean, it's a new ownership, or not new ownership, a new, like, total front office and coaching staff. So that's always kind of like a tricky conversation. But, I mean, I was, like, begging them to trade for Jacoby Myers last year because the Raiders were just, like, in a tumble, and I don't know if he was actually available or not. I mean, they traded Adams. I'm sure that they could have probably got him for something if they would have made the deal sweet enough. The thing about Bourne is like he hasn't had more than like 450 receiving yards in like 4 seasons. I just don't know like if he's cut. Like they did draft. I mean, they drafted Kyle Williams. Did they draft another receiver? Patriots? I know they drafted a bunch of young guys last year. Javon Baker. I know Jalen Polk was pretty bad as a rookie. If he was cut, I would consider that. I'd probably try to shoot higher, though, like at least one of the Packers guys, to be honest. But the one thing I wanted to mention about Rock Taylor, who was on my 53-man roster projection that I wrote for Steelers Now yesterday, as like literally the last guy in, caught 64% of his contested catch targets the last 2 years at Memphis. It's pretty good.
He's a big dude.
213. I mean, you look at like the measurables. I mean, I think he's like almost 6'2", 213 pounds, 78th percentile, 78-inch wingspan at 72nd percentile for the position. So
I haven't written this yet, so you're getting a podcast exclusive. But I asked Rock Taylor about the George Pickens trade, and he was like, "Oh yeah, like that's a motivator for sure. Like that's telling a guy that there's a job open, and I'm gonna try to go get it." So there you go.
Yeah, I mean that's the good part about like this process for them, and I'm gonna try to spin it in a positive way because I know how down the fan base is on the receiver room right now. Is like there's a plethora of opportunity out there. So if you're somebody who is confident in your skills, you look at all those targets that George vacated last year. And, even though we know DK Metcalf's probably going to get, at this point, if you're playing fantasy football, DK Metcalf may see like a 30-something% target share next year. But aside from that, even if you don't think that they're going to be a high volume passing offense, which I don't think anybody would say that right now, there are still a ton of targets to go around. So, it's wide open for guys like Roman, for guys like Calvin, Rock Taylor, insert random person
Pat
here.
Freiermuth. I'll be buying some Pat Freiermuth fantasy stock as well. Because
again, same conversation as last year with Pat Freiermuth being
but
two.
now there's now their quarterback can see over the offensive line. So
yeah.
That was a problem last year.
If Pat got fantasy points for like turn downs in quick game, Pat would have been a really good tight end last year. Like maybe like top 5.
Dude, the number of times I'm watching tape from last year and I'm just looking at like 88 with like a 10-yard buffer. There's just no one around him. And the ball not coming. And I just feel for the guy. I hope those balls get thrown this year for him, for his sake.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm just saying. Will Howard, best routes he throws. Sales, benders.
I think even Mason Rudolph can throw 10-yard routes to the tight end.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. I'm not saying that Pat was saying this because he didn't want Mason. All I know is like draft wise, he was locked in on Will for the same reason that you were saying. He's a big fan of the stuff that he did well. So there we go. All right. Good stuff. Also, a little bit of this was a bit of an odd podcast. I actually legitimately had no idea that Alan was going to be jumping in here, but we're very glad that he did. But the background different than it normally would be with 3 of us. Alan being on the bottom, DB and I up top. That is typically not the way that it goes, but we're here. We made it happen. Got a great product out for you guys still. Now, as we always do at the end of every podcast, got to tell people where we could find yourselves. So, DB, tell people they'd find you.
At Steelers_DB on Twitter and YouTube. You can find all my written work at SteelersNow.com. Wrote a 53-man roster projection and wrote about them potentially looking into trading for Romeo Doubs and Dontavian Wicks from the Packers. So if you guys want my thoughts on that, check it out.
Hold on. Also, before Alan says anything about where to find him, was that stuff? Did you have like stuff as a backdrop prior, like recently, or is that like a new thing behind?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, DB.
I've had this for a couple weeks.
He's been stepping his game up.
Yeah, well, no, I got tired of people yelling. I got tired of people yelling at me that I had like walls behind me.
Changed him into a better backdrop.
Legitimately though, when Brooklyn sent me these pictures, she was like, "I might need to send some to Derek too because he's got nothing behind him." And then it was like a day after.
A hard time. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So it makes a lot of sense. I was wondering what happened.
No, I do appreciate. Actually, someone DM'd me about this. Like after I put it up, I think I did a stream or something like that on my YouTube channel, and someone DM'd me this and was like, I'm actually a little bit upset that you put a backdrop on because I was just thinking that you were extremely committed to the bit of just straight up like talking ball, no aesthetic, no production, nothing. Just getting
there's
on
not
there
a single window
in
the forget the basement. There's not a single window in the house.
Yeah, they were like, I don't know, I'm not really feeling it, to be honest with you.
He actually spackled himself in there and he can never leave. There's not even a door in that room.
Yeah, it's just me and like 3 screens in here to watch all 22.
Love it. All right. Anyways, Alan, tell people they'd find you.
Saunders_PGH on X, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. PGH Steelers Now, the site's account, SteelersNow.com. Go there, read the words from me, and DB can get paid. Sign up for SN Plus, and you read the words without ads, which is way better than reading them with ads, and helps us more. It gives us the freedom to do some stuff like cover rookie minicamp, like I was today, and all the other cool stuff we do over the course of the season. Really helps us out, so we appreciate that. And like, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications here on the YouTube platform. That's free, and that helps us out a ton as well.
There we go. Good stuff. As always, as Alan said, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Hit us in the comments with your thoughts on anything that we talked about today, a question for a future episode, all that good stuff. If you're listening somewhere else, Apple, Spotify, wherever your podcast from, be sure there's a 5-star review and subscribe over there. Just search Steelers Afternoon Drive. Do the same thing on TikTok, and then you'll find me everywhere, Zachary Smith, PGH. Round Saunders, Derrick Bell, and myself. Thanks for jumping in and taking another ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive.